Rick Harrison, the charismatic and savvy owner of the world-famous gold and silver pawn shop in Las Vegas, is no stranger to high-stakes deals. For over a decade, his hit History Channel show Pawn Stars has captivated audiences with its mix of history, humor, and high-pressure negotiations. From rare coins to vintage guitars, Rick has seen and bought just about everything that walks through the doors of his iconic pawn shop. But even for someone as experienced and well-connected as Rick, there are still items that can surprise him. In one particularly memorable episode, Rick found himself face-to-face with an offering so rare and historically significant that it left even him momentarily speechless. A pair of books, personally signed by members of the British royal family. The seller was a quiet but confident man in his 50s who walked into the pawn shop carrying what appeared to be two old leather-bound books. At first glance, they didn't look like much, perhaps something you'd find at a garage sale or dusty antique shop. But when Rick opened them up and saw the inscriptions inside, his eyes widened. One book had been signed by Queen Elizabeth II herself. The inscription read, "To my loyal subject, with thanks for your service. Elizabeth R." It was dated 1982. The second book bore the signature of Prince Philip, Duke of Edinburgh, and was inscribed similarly, "To thank you for your dedication, Philip." Rick immediately recognized the rarity and historical value of these signatures. While autographs from celebrities and politicians are relatively common in the memorabilia market, personal inscriptions from British royalty, especially from Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip, are extremely rare. Both were known for being private individuals who rarely gave out autographs or personalized gifts to the general public. As Rick flipped through the pages, he turned to his longtime employee, Corey Big Hoss Harrison, and said, "You know what we're looking at here, right?" Big Hoss nodded slowly, clearly realizing the gravity of the moment. Rick asked the seller how he came into possession of such unique items. The man explained that his late father had served in the British military during the 1970s and 1980s and had been stationed in the UK for several years. During that time, he had worked on a project directly related to the royal family's security detail. As a token of appreciation, he had been given the books, each personally signed by the Queen and the Duke. After hearing this story, Rick knew he was dealing with something truly special. He also knew he couldn't price the books without doing some serious research. He sent the volumes off to a trusted authentication expert in Los Angeles who specialized in royal memorabilia. The expert confirmed the authenticity of both signatures and noted that the inscriptions were written in the same handwriting styles used by Elizabeth and Philip in official correspondence. Armed with this information, Rick returned to the seller with a formal offer. Given the extreme rarity and provenance of the books, he proposed paying $35,000 for the pair, an amount that stunned both the seller and the audience watching at home. At first, the seller hesitated. He admitted he hadn't expected such a high valuation and was clearly emotional about parting with the books, which had belonged to his late father. Rick, ever the negotiator, reassured him that the books would be preserved and appreciated by collectors and historians alike. After a few tense moments, the seller accepted the offer, shaking Rick's hand with gratitude. The deal was closed, and once again, Rick Harrison had secured a one-of-a-kind treasure for his collection. In the world of collectibles and memorabilia, few things carry the prestige and historical weight of items connected to royalty, especially British royalty. Queen Elizabeth II, who reigned for over 70 years, was not only the longest-serving monarch in British history, but also one of the most recognizable figures in the world. Her signature, especially one that includes a personal inscription, is highly coveted among collectors. Prince Philip, her husband and consort, was equally respected and admired. Though more reserved than the Queen, his presence was integral to the stability and modernization of the monarchy. His signature is also considered valuable, though slightly less sought after than the Queen's. Together, the combination of their signatures on separate but related items is extremely rare. Most collectors might only dream of finding a single item signed by either of them, let alone two books bearing both names. Experts estimate that a simple autograph from Queen Elizabeth II could fetch anywhere between $5,000 and $15,000, depending on condition and context. A personal inscription like the one Rick purchased addressed to a specific individual and accompanied by a thank you note can increase the value significantly. Add in Prince Philip's signature, and the total worth becomes even more substantial. In fact, similar items have sold at auction for upwards of $50,000, making Rick's $35,000 offer not just fair, but potentially conservative. Rick Harrison is known for his shrewd business sense. He doesn't throw money around lightly. Every deal he makes is backed by research, instinct, and a deep understanding of the collectibles market. So why did he pay so much for these books? First and foremost, rarity played a major role. Items signed by Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip don't come up for sale often. When they do, they tend to sell quickly, especially if they have a clear provenance like these books did. Secondly, the personal nature of the inscriptions added to their appeal. Unlike mass-produced autographs or generic signatures, these were heartfelt messages addressed to a specific person. That kind of personal touch adds emotional and historical depth to any collectible. Third, Rick understood the potential resale value. With the passing of Queen Elizabeth II in September 2022, interest in her memorabilia has skyrocketed. Collectors and institutions around the world are scrambling to acquire pieces of royal history before prices climb even higher. By acquiring these books now, Rick positioned himself to make a significant profit down the line, or hold on to them as a long-term investment. Finally, Rick has always had a soft spot for stories of service and sacrifice. Hearing that the original owner had served in the military and received these books as a gesture of gratitude likely resonated with Rick, who has often expressed admiration for veterans and active duty personnel. For Rick, this wasn't just another pawn shop deal, it was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to own a piece of history. The books weren't just valuable because of the signatures they contained. They represented a direct link to a time and place where ordinary people could interact with extraordinary figures. The story behind the books, their connection to the British military, the royal family's acknowledgement of service, and the emotional journey of the seller added layers of meaning that went beyond monetary value. Rick knows that while money comes and goes, true treasures are those that tell a story. These books weren't just collectibles. They were artifacts of loyalty, duty, and recognition. In many ways, the transaction mirrored the spirit of Pawn Stars itself. It was a meeting of strangers brought together by history, curiosity, and the thrill of discovery. It showed how everyday objects can carry immense significance, and how a simple visit to a pawn shop can turn into a life-changing moment. Royal memorabilia has always held a special allure for collectors, historians, and fans of the monarchy. Whether it's wedding programs, coronation medals, or clothing worn by royals, anything associated with the British crown tends to appreciate in value over time. Part of the fascination stems from the mystique surrounding royalty. The British monarchy is one of the oldest continuous institutions in the world, and its members are often viewed as larger-than-life figures. Anything they touch becomes imbued with a sense of grandeur and exclusivity. Additionally, the media attention surrounding royal events, from weddings to scandals, fuels ongoing interest in memorabilia. Each generation sees new waves of collectors entering the market, eager to own a piece of history. Items connected to Queen Elizabeth II, in particular, have become hot commodities since her passing. Her reign spanned nearly a century, and she became a symbol of stability and continuity in a rapidly changing world. Her death marked the end of an era, prompting renewed appreciation for her legacy and driving up demand for her memorabilia. But this trend isn't limited to Britain. Collectors from all over the world, including the United States, Japan, and the Middle East, are actively seeking out royal items. Museums and historical societies are also keen to acquire authentic pieces for display and preservation. After purchasing the books, Rick placed them in a secure storage unit within the pawn shop, alongside other high-value items. He made it clear that they wouldn't be resold immediately. Instead, he planned to showcase them during a special event or feature them in a documentary about royal memorabilia. But Rick also hinted at the possibility of donating one of the books to a museum or educational institution in the future, ensuring that the story behind the items would continue to be told. For now, the books remain a prized addition to Rick's growing collection of historical treasures. They serve as a reminder that sometimes the most valuable finds aren't flashy or obvious. They're hidden in plain sight, waiting for someone with knowledge, vision, and respect for history to recognize their worth. Rick Harrison's decision to pay $35,000 for 2 books signed by Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip was more than just a business move. It was a tribute to history, service, and the enduring power of storytelling. In a world where material possessions often lose their meaning over time, these books stand out as timeless artifacts that connect us to the past in a deeply personal way. They remind us that even the most powerful figures in the world take time to acknowledge the contributions of ordinary people. And for Rick Harrison, that's what Pawn Stars has always been about. Not just buying and selling items, but uncovering the human stories behind them. Whether it's a rare coin, a vintage guitar, or a royal inscription, every object has a tale to tell. In this case, the tale was one of loyalty, gratitude, and the unexpected magic of walking into a Las Vegas pawn shop with nothing but a couple of old books and a family